Welcome back again. Welcome to the Kingdom Hall. I'm going to give a public talk today. First of all, this is no more ridiculous than the JW Watchtower saying that Jesus came down invisibly to inspect the world's religions in 1914. 4 years later, it took Jesus 4 years. In 1919, he picks the Jehovah Witnesses, which were the Bible students back then, not even the Jehovah Witnesses yet. Jesus can work faster than 4 years. That's ridiculous. But this is no more ridiculous. So, I have to wear this out. You know, you laugh or cry, man. This is going to be a first of a 3-part series I'm going to be doing. And the first part of the series is I'm going to prove that the JW Watchtower is nothing but a corporation, publishing company, masked as a pseudo-religion. I'm going to give you the history of how this started. The second one in the series is going to be, I keep hearing the JWs are good people. Look, I was one. I'm a good person. But when I was in the cult, the destructive cult, you can't be a good person. And I'm going to prove to you that. You can't love somebody unless you love yourself and you know how to love. Generally, I get the idea. Yeah, they're good people. But when you're in, you'll throw your own kids under the bus to grab that hope of a paradise on earth, man. I'm going to prove that to you. It's glaring, no question about it. The third part is the governing body knows what they're doing, and they do it anyway. I'm going to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that as well. You can argue years ago they may not have known it. They know it now. They definitely know it. Okay, so how is this? I'm making these videos so anybody coming out of the board that wants to leave the organization or is PMO, physically in, mentally out, or they have family members, stuff like this. What I've used is comedy with my family members. They're a walking, talking Watchtower publication. And when you're dealing with that, it's like talking to someone when they're drunk. You don't want to do that. So, you know, you have to deal with it. I deal with it in a comedic manner. And they don't get pissed and they still talk to me because I'm not telling them, hey, you got to check this out. And this is bad, because they're taught to protect the Watchtower under all circumstances. Jehovah is the Watchtower. Watchtower is Jehovah. They're both one and the same. There is no difference. All right. Let's get right into it. Before I get into the history of how it became a corporation, a non-profit, I'm going to show you something. All these are down below. All the links are down below that you can get all these articles. Corporations of Jehovah Witnesses, okay? They have so many corporations, at least 100, maybe more. And this is on purpose. Like Scientology had a lot to cover themselves. You know, you had to sue this one was responsible for this, publications and materials. Jehovah Witnesses make Scientology, on this regard, chump change. On this regard, as far as corporations, I still think Scientology, you know, they were, in a lot of ways, they were much more brutal to their members. Okay, but in JWs, it was spiritual abuse. That's what they're doing. Interestingly enough, when I put my cursor over corporation, see, I believe that what Charles Taze Russell did and Rutherford is they McDonaldized religion. They McDonaldized it. Let's get it out fast and cheap. the McDonaldization of pseudo-religion. They made it a product, something to be sold and made money with. And they were good at it. Really freaking good, man. Scarily good. When I did that, guess what popped up? And I didn't plan this. Put my cursor right over on it, and what does it show me? McDonald's! How prophetic. It's obvious. It's so obvious. So, the Watchtower even admits that it is the oldest and most prominent of their corporation names. Watchtower Society has also been used synonymously with the religious organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, even in their own literature. So they're both one and the same. The modern day, the governing body doesn't want that to be the case. Particularly since 2000, Jehovah's Witnesses have maintained a distinction between their corporations and their religious organization. The primary corporations are operated by governing body helpers. They're called governing body helpers who implement its decisions. Okay? They have so many corporate names. It is crazy. This article goes into all the corporate names. Okay? And the link will be below. But if you look at this, right, there's even a table of contents. Here's them all. Page 1. And this is small writing, man. Corporate to the nth degree, man. Corporation. It's insane. It's insane. And this is all to protect thine own arse. If this isn't a corporate of corporations, I don't know what is. And when they did this in the beginning, they did it as a non-profit. Charles Taze Russell and his business partner. How they got religious tax exempt status, I have no idea. I'd like someone to do some research on that. Did they do some charity in the beginning and that's what fooled? I have no idea. Okay. This will make you sick. So, they made it a non-profit. Okay? The society name encompasses all of these corporations. The society encompasses all of them. All right? So, it was founded in 1881 with William Henry Conley. He was a Pittsburgh businessman, and he was the first president, and Charles Taze Russell acted as a secretary treasurer. Got to keep that money. So this William Henry Conley, he was a businessman, and he was also a philanthropist and an industrialist. So he had lots of capital. And what happened was, the corporation was officially renamed Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in 1896. And what is so incredible to me is the Watchtower and Tract Society, they have a corporation, they state their purposes, okay, as their tax exempt status. This is what they state is their purpose for being on the planet, right? This is so sick, man. The corporation's stated purposes are, and this is in quotes, man, charitable, benevolent, scientific, historical, literary. Yeah, literary. Literary. Yeah. Literary. Lots of, that's another thing. I'd like to see how many publications one of the Bethelites said he saw in a gymnasium or something. They had like every publication that the Watchtower's ever done. And they had these 8-foot tables lined up in rows, and they were just filled. Just filled, man. I love Mike and Kimmy's. Behind them on that bookshelf, they got a great library. A lot of times you need the materials, the publications, to wake people up or to help them see through what the Watchtower is and what's been done to them. Use their own publications. That's what the Bethelite that started JWFacts.com does. It's a great source because it's not apostate. It might be old light, but it's there, man. So, and the old light, I'll tell you where that comes from too. So, okay, so we have benevolent, scientific, historical, literary, and religious purposes. The moral and mental improvement of men and women. The dissemination of Bible truths in various languages by means of the publication of tracts, pamphlets, papers, and other religious documents. And for the religious missionary work. Okay, this is what they claim they're there for. Yep. So unannounced to the congregation, right? Actually in January, they announced this to the congregations in January 2001 that all branch committee members are appointed by and report to the governing body of Jehovah Witnesses. We know who's in charge. We know who's in charge. And any circuit overseer, local body of elders, individual is a function and acts as an agency. It acts at the explicit direction of the governing body. There's no doubt there, okay? So these corporations are sanctioned by the governing body members as well, okay? And I want to get into, I believe that Charles Taze Russell was a narcissist. Narcissists are not born. Nobody's born a narcissist. They grow into one. They become one. They may have traits. I believe that if you are in the Borg and you're living in a destructive cult, you become a narcissist to stay alive. Just to keep you're depressed and everything, but you have your brain, you have to protect yourself somehow. And the best narcissists rise to the top. Did you know that corporations in America and around the world, they have a test. They have psychologists that look for, see, narcissistic people, they're always getting high positions because they'll step on anybody to get ahead. But it actually hurts a business to have someone like that in there. So they actually find ways to find out who is one and get rid of them. This is how toxic narcissists can be. There's no cure. Have fun fixing it. They have to want they have to recognize and want to change. And then that's how a few of them have been cured. But anyway, so Charles Taze Russell, how does he start these as the first corporation of Jehovah Witnesses? Let's see what time it is. Okay, good time. So, and this is going to include why they change all the names for everything. A church is a kingdom hall. The Bible's a New World Translation of the unholy scriptures. Ransom sacrifice. Undeserved kindness. No, he didn't die on a cross. He died on a stake. This is intentional. This is intentional. So, here we go. This all started with a false prophet named William Miller and the Millerite movement, Millerism. And it was called the Great Disappointment. Okay? And this was a big thing. It was 20,000 people came under a tent. They came from all over America. And this, he was a farmer pastor from Pittsburgh, and this is how the Adventists started. He said Jesus was going to come in like 1944. Everybody, the same thing happened in 1975 that happened at this Great Disappointment. people gave up their jobs, their houses, and they just flocked there. And of course it didn't happen. Now, this William Miller, he used pyramidology too, and he used addition. And actually, when it didn't come true, people were pissed, man. Actually, there was a lot of violence. They tarred and feathered a group of people. They burnt down Adventist churches. It was just bloody mayhem, man. And in the mid-1800s, you can imagine, people were pissed, man. Kids were like, the parents were sending kids after people, taunting them. And it's all in here. And I don't blame them, man. This ruined people's lives. This is where the Jehovah's Witness came from, because one of the students of William Miller is who Charles Taze Russell ran into. Charles Taze Russell back then was 8 years old when this great disappointment was happening. There was also instances, a Millerite church was burned in Ithaca. 2 were vandalized in Dansville and Scottsville. In Lorain, Illinois, a mob attacked the Millerite congregation with clubs and knives, while a group in Toronto was tarred and feathered. Shots were fired in another Canadian group meeting in a private house. So, anyway, so what happened was, so Russell was 8 years old. When he was 18 in 1870, he meets Jonas Wendell, who's also an Adventist. Now, Taze was 18 years old. Jonas Wendell, he kept this thing alive, thinking, and he also made false predictions as well. He was a zealot Adventist. And when you look up Adventist, what you find, which is pretty screwed up, what you end up finding is Adventist. They believe in a second coming of Christ. So I looked that up. Oh, there's so much here. Bear with me just a sec. Okay. So at 18 years old, Charles Taze Russell attended this Jonas Wendell's talk. And Jonas Wendell, he was a minister, and he wrote that wow, there's so much to this. Okay. So he wrote a booklet, right? And it said, entitled, The Present Truth, or Meat in Due Season. Meat in Due Season? Wonder where that came from. So these guys stole stuff from each other all the time. And he concluded that the second advent was sure to occur in 1873. Unknowns to him, in the listening to him that day, was Charles Taze Russell. And Charles Taze Russell, he got involved in this again. That's what fired him up. Interestingly enough, Jonas Wendell was arrested and charged with, they called it improper intimacy with an underage girl. Such holy people, right? So what happened then was, so Charles was fired up about this, right? Charles Taze Russell was rich from his father. They had a lot of money. They owned haberdasheries, which are, they're part of the clothing, and they make like buttons for clothes and various things, zippers and all that. They're called a haberdashery. Charles' father was helping him a lot, man, financially. He helped him a lot. He gave him some, this is all in Pittsburgh. He gave him some to sell. And Charles Taze Russell, so he didn't believe in hell. He hated the idea of hell, the Trinity. He believed in pyramidology. He said that the Holy Spirit is not a person. That's where that came from. But a manifestation of God's power. And he also said Jesus' divinity was a gift from God by dying on the cross, which opens the door to Jesus being an angel. That he wasn't divine, but when he died on the cross, God gave him a divinity as a gift. This is what Taze is preaching, right? Since Jesus talked about hell in the Bible, King James Version, it's like 23 times or something. Some say 54 in the Bible. The links are below. You can read it. They had to demoralize Jesus, man. Hey, he's talking about it, right? After all, he wasn't divine till he died. Already, this Jesus is starting to be minimized. Already. Okay? That all started with Taze. Just like Scientology with L. Ron Hubbard, and then David Miscavige took over, and they say, well, which one's worse? Well, they both are. Miscavige just plotted along with what L. Ron started. They both did nasty things, man. Con men and whatever, you know. So this is no different. This is a cult leader. There's no difference. Just the names have changed. Someone did a list of Scientology, Jehovah Witness, and Mormonism, the three biggies in America, right? The destructive cults. And they had names for things and what they meant. Each one had different names for the same thing. Disfellowshipping. You know, they each had, and the list went, and it was really, you watch that, and it's like, damn, you read that. I read that, and I was like, wow, right? So they developed their own language. Let's see. Okay, good time, good time. So what happened then, right, is, so this William Henry Conley, he was also a Pittsburgh philanthropist, and he was an industrialist. So he had money, man. And him and Russell pooled their money together, okay? And they started Zion's Watchtower and Tract Society. They incorporated it in 1884 as a non-for-profit. And they changed the name to Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, headquartered in Brooklyn, New York. Now, interestingly enough, there's an American Tract Society in New York. And they were a publishing company that publishes just regular Christian materials that you'd see, you know, anywhere from non-denominational Christians, from regular Christians who don't preach this crazy nonsense, right? Taze boasted. See, he thought about this. You got all these thousands of people coming out for the Adventists, right? We got this money. I'm going to do... He looked at the American Tract Society and he boasted. He says, he claimed that the distribution of these works and tracts by the Watchtower Society during 1881 exceeded by 8 times that of the American Tract Society. That's what he boasted. So he in his mind, he's like, okay, I can McDonaldize this stuff and just, you know, come up with stuff. It's like you can't go, I want to be an actor and I'm going to go to California and become an actor. All right? No, you go to acting school, man. You want to be a doctor, you go to freaking medical school. You want to be a paralegal, you go to school and become a paralegal, get trained and licensed. These guys, they didn't go to minister school. They didn't go to theologians. They didn't do any of that, man. They just said, we're preachers, man, and we're going to do this. So, did he believe this shit? If you ask me, he didn't believe any of it. And he couldn't have believed it. Because if he believed it, he wouldn't have done this crap. Believe me. If he believed this, the Bible and the Word of God, he wouldn't have done any of this shit. He didn't believe. He believed in making money and having power and esteem. Okay? Here's another sick thing. In 1881, Russell published his first work to gain wide distribution. Food for Thinking Christians. More food, right? The 162-page pamphlet was published using donated funds from the people. Donated funds. These guys had money, man. Right? Amounting to approximately, the donated funds amounted to $40,000. The current value is over $1 million. in today's money. It had a circulation of nearly 1.5 million copies over a period of 4 months, distributed throughout the United States, Canada, Great Britain, and various channels. Yep. In 1893, in Pittsburgh, it was they were accusing Russell of being a dictatorial leader, a shrewd businessman who appeared eager to collect funds from the selling of the Millennial Dawn books, and of cheating one of them financially, and of using thousands of Millennial Dawn books under a female pseudonym. He was doing all kinds of stuff. Miracle wheat. Oh yeah, we can't forget about the miracle wheat, right? Miracle wheat. So what does Taze do to make more money? Remember in my other video I said that they built these big loudspeaker things, and witnesses would go and boom door to door, and just, right? And they built 30,000 of them, right? These loudspeakers. Well, in March 22nd, 1911, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle reported that Russell was accused of gaining profit from a strain of wheat named Miracle Wheat. And the guy that invented it claimed that, that he discovered this. Russell sold the wheat for $60 a bushel, far above the average cost of wheat at that time. Remember, this is 1911, dude. 60 bucks? That's what they did with their pamphlets, remember? In my other video? Their books and stuff, they charged way over what that's spiritual abuse, man. Russell sold the wheat. Okay, so for 2 years, the Eagle continued to report about this fraud. So Russell sued the Eagle paper for libel, but he lost. He lost that in court. And the government expert investigated the miracle wheat and said it was low in the government's testing. Prior to entering the court, the Eagle declared that at the trial, it will show that Pastor Russell's religious cult is nothing more than a money-making scheme. They knew this for a long time. This is known. This is known. This was known by people that are dead and gone. We're just still dealing with it. So now you know, Russell gets these ideas, right? He has the ideas against, he's got to push Jesus down because he has his own deals, and he also steals from the American Tract Society. He's like, oh, they're doing religious pamphlets and stuff in Christianity. I'm going to make my own. Interestingly enough, he also, so I just want to, this is how it breaks down. One of the articles shows how it breaks down, and you get the witnesses from William Miller. All these guys called themselves pastors and stuff. They had no credentials, man. None. None at all. All right? They couldn't even legally marry anybody, man. So what happens, right? Here's some crazy stuff. Jehovah's Witnesses use the term second coming. They rarely use the term second coming, preferred the term presence as a translation of parousia, which is P-A-R-O-U-S-I-A. They believe that Jesus' comparison of the presence of the Son of Man with the days of Noah, all right, and they give some scriptures. They suggest a duration rather than a moment of arrival, of Jesus' arrival. They also believe that biblical chronology points to 1944, the start of Christ's presence, right, which continues until the final battle of Armageddon. All right? The biblical expressions they correlate with this period include the time of the end, the conclusion of the system of things, and the last days. We've heard that a lot, right? When I hit Adventist, you get the second coming, all right? And it's a Christian and Islamic belief regarding the future return of Jesus Christ after his incarnation and ascension to heaven about 2,000 years ago. All right. So the witnesses try to see how they're already making up other words. Nah, we're not really second coming. It's presence, right? And this continues to this day. Any business person will tell you, corporate-wise, to compete, you always have to say ours is the best, man. We got the best, and everybody else is second fiddle. And Taze knew this. So he puts down every other religion that they steal from. I'm going to show you and prove to you on another video that the Watchtower steals verbiage from other famous religious theologians and scholars, reverends, and from different churches to bolster their beliefs in the Watchtower. The ... thing where they just pick up a certain portion. But they never say, oh, it's from Reverend so-and-so or Minister so-and-so. They just pick that reference and say the person's name. No titles of anything, right? So, get my thoughts together here. So, there's no doubt that the Watchtower started as a corporation, and it is corporation out the wazoo now. It's gone crazy, man. Hundreds of corporations fall into the society, okay? And that's a means to protect themselves. So what happened, like in my other video, Charles Taze Russell's lawyer, who was a believer, was Rutherford, Judge Rutherford, okay? And he got through law school by selling encyclopedias door to door. So what does he do? What does he add to the pile? Okay? So what he adds to the pile is in January 1917, Joseph Franklin Rutherford was elected president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, despite disputes from the election process. Further disputes arose over interpretation of sections of Russell's will dealing with the future contents of Zion's Watchtower magazines, as well as who, if anyone, had authority to print new literature. Ah, Charles Taze Russell had a will, and as any good cult leader and narcissist, he didn't want anybody else to write anything, man. Now, as a lawyer, Rutherford knew, man, I got to keep this thing going. I got ideas of my own. But I need to be able to write some bullshit, too. And then if you read Charles Taze, his stuff, and Jesus, you think Jesus picked that? It's some crazy, whacked out stuff, man. Totally unbiblical, just whacked out stuff. So, what does Russell do? I mean, Rutherford. He loses 2/3 of, what is it, 2/3 or 3/4? Nearly 3/4 of the Bible students, they leave. They're like, we're not, this is wrong. We're not going with him. Okay? So, Rutherford, he has some followers, and he has to think of something now. He has to think, he has to think of something fast, right? And he thinks of a great plan, man. Well, we're Jehovah Witnesses. Ah, ding, ding, ding. He was talking to somebody, channeling to somebody, and it wasn't holy. All right. So he adopts that, right? His new name, and they renamed their magazine the Watchtower. Okay, so he's just like, screw you, go ahead. And he's a lawyer, so he controlled things. He had enough followers to control the money. So he just renamed stuff, man. Just like he got taught by the master, Charles Taze Russell. That's what he did. And talk about when you really research the renaming of things and how they stole things and then renamed them. Oh, here's the miracle wheat. I can't stand that, how they rename stuff now. That's already out there. And it's like they came up with it, and they didn't. You know, the undeserved kindness and the. So what does Rutherford bring to the table? Okay, so what's he do? Okay, so what he does is he brings in that Christendom, and then he brings in that the human soul, that man becomes a spiritual creature or angel after merely physical death. Okay, and he brings in the existence of purgatory. This is all post Rutherford. They bring in the end of the world. The Christendom, or what they call the religionists, treat Jehovah's Witnesses like Job. They say, yeah, they treated them like Job, right? This is the persecution complex. That the tribulation began at close to the 7 Gentile times in 1914. Jehovah's chief executive officer is Jesus Christ. In that year, 1919, Jehovah God, by his messenger at the temple, delivered the remnant, from literal prisons and other restraints in Babylon, and sent them forth fearless in his service as his witnesses. All right. So, about money making here, and why it's corporations of Jehovah Witnesses. Okay, how do they make their money? Well, we know how they made some of their money, right? Well, the governing body are treated like royalty. They're kind of like Europe's royal family. Okay, everything's free for them. They get travel, their plane rides, their medical care, their room and board, their food. They get perks. They're allowed to keep gifts that people give them. Okay, free medical, housing, free tailored suits, laundry service, hairdressers, a little pocket money they get, free travel around the world. They receive it for life. For life. They get all this for life. They get a lot of power from the members. 8 million. I say 5.5 million. That's another. That's going to be another episode. So this person is a JW apologist that writes this one article I'm going to put in there. One of the things they did, I'll save that for another episode, but how do they make their money? And you'd be surprised, right? So we know they own the land and the Kingdom Halls. We know that they gave loans out to the Kingdom Hall publishers with interest, okay? Now, the government stopped the interest part, okay? Because as a nonprofit, they weren't allowed to do that. But as a nonprofit, they don't have to just show you what all money they have and investments they have. They don't have to do that as a non-for-profit. So this article is really in depth, and it tells you to rent every convention makes them $500,000. Okay, $400,000 profit per district convention, If you do the math that year, in a year, they make $20 million in profit. That's after all the expenses, okay? Pretty crazy. They even charge for parking. Got $140,000 from that. And then they give some spiel to the witnesses in the scripture why they should do this. Why should they pay for their parking? I don't want to read it. It's pretty sick. So they're property flipping, and they fleece the funds. So, and the forced donation. So every Kingdom Hall needed $5,000 in the bank just to, in case they had to fix something or whatever. Anything beyond that, the Watchtower demanded and took. Some brothers, some of the elders in a California Kingdom Hall, they disputed this, and they pled their case, and the Watchtower disfellowshipped them. And that's in here too. You can read all about that. That's in Menlo Park, California. All right. So this just explains all their ways of their money-making ways that they've got. How they make money on disasters. It's all free labor. So if they pay for some boards or whatever, right? It's all free labor, including their publishing. All free labor. Labor costs are always the most in any company for anything. Labor costs, right? That's all free to them. So they buy some lumber and some other stuff. These Jehovah's Witnesses, free labor, go down there. They help out. Now, the insurance policy covers some of these disasters, and they pocket that right from the householder, witness householder. They don't help anybody else, just like, but they make their money. And there's all these articles to prove what they've done. Oh, when they send relief, they said they sent relief to the typhoon in the Philippines. But what happened was it was 10 vans, okay, and that's it. 10 vans of stuff in the vans, water, and they made this big deal about it. You know, how much water and whatever else can you put in 10 vans? That's not relief, dude. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So they don't do any charitable things. They don't build houses. They don't build hospitals. They don't build soup kitchens. They don't do any charitable. They say their publications are the food that people really need, right? Not help the widows or the homeless or the orphans, right? They expect the poor to somehow clean up their lives and help themselves. And then maybe, just maybe, some local JWs will do some random act of kindness to help them find a job or a home. Okay? And this is all from their publications. There are no organized charitable works performed by Jehovah's Witnesses. None. No soup kitchens, food pantries, counseling services, just nothing. Disaster relief is sporadic. Yep. So this is a damn good article, and it tells you a lot. And I'm putting all the links below. Okay. Watchtower's in crisis right now. They're in crisis because of the internet and all the activism that's going on. So what they're trying to do is, they said, the governing body now says, well, we came forward because we want to show our faces, and they have some spiel it's of why they did that, right? But every cult leader always puts themselves out on the highest thing they can to get out to as many people as they can. It's part of narcissism. These guys in the Jehovah's Witnesses, these governing body members, they had to do it. That was the next evolutionary step. Every cult leader does it. Charles Taze did it with the radio, and they all go to the highest thing they can at the time they live in. And right now it's media, videos, and TV. So that's why they did it. Don't let them fool you. What are they peddling? What did they have all the witnesses sell that they made millions and millions of dollars on? Stuff like this behind me. I'm going to give you another gander, man. I'll give you another gander. That's just some of the stuff. And interestingly enough, I want to share something interesting with you. Some interesting things. One of the lawyers to the Jehovah Witnesses who won some court cases to allow them to preach and stuff, this was given out, this is from 1950, and it was given out to witnesses. So if you got in trouble preaching out in the street, you were supposed to pull this out and show the cop and to say, oh, this is why we're okay by the Congress to do what we're doing and not, you know, fighting for our country and everything. 2010, they put this out. Work together safely, right? Work together safely. Safety rules and standards for volunteer projects. Yeah, they don't want free volunteers getting hurt, man, because you got to keep working. How's this? Mark your time. Marking your time. Oh, that was also put in place by Rutherford too. Marking your time and marking how much you sold. Right? You want pamphlets? Pamphlets. We got pamphlets. We got hellfire. We got all kinds. You want it? We got the end of the world, man. We have it all. Let's see. Just publications after publication. I mean, it's just a ton of stuff. Just sell, sell, sell. Spit it out, man. Vindication. New World Revelation. This is the one they burned. They had the Kingdom Hall burn. And one of my good favorites that you all love, I know you all love it, my book of Bible stories, man. I got Watchtowers that it's just a nightmare. When you're born in, you have a lot of relatives and you have friends and everything, you end up with, people die, man. You end up with all this publications, all this stuff just starts piling up, man. And it's good to have, though, to witness to somebody to help wake them up. So there's no doubt that the Watchtower is a corporation. It started as a corporation. It's turned into a nightmare of corporations. More corporations than any other corporation has. Corporation on top of corporation on top of corporation. McDonaldization. You ever wonder why they got rid of a lot of their publishers? They use a company, all right, and they've been doing this for a long time. That also, it's called custom bookbinding, and they do a lot of publications for the JWs. Actually, they even on their website, they even give an ode to the Kingdom Hall. Where is it? Right there. So they say, Friends of Warwick, right? And they organize this place to stay at. How I found this out is this is somebody's, Laurel Butler's, friend of the family's. See the Holy Bible? Now we know they never put Bible on their cover. If they did in the 50s, they would be tarred and feathered. So I was wondering, it's a New World Translation of the Unholy Scriptures, right? Well, then I found this in the back. Where is it? My time's running out. So I find this in the back, right? And that led me, that's this company. And look at that. Look at the, see how that matches this? Someone actually thought they had a Bible. They actually thought they had a Bible here, but they had to make it a Bible themselves. They had to say, oh, it's a Bible. Because we know this isn't a Bible. This is an abomination. And it's an intentional. And interestingly enough, lastly, before I go, What Bible has to have a foreword in the front of it telling you, oh, we know it's wrong to change any of the Bible. We know it's against God and you'll be punished eternally and all this stuff, right? And they do it anyway. What Bible has to say that? And I remember seeing that as a kid with the green Bible. I remember seeing that. And I thought, damn, why did it? This means that they have changed it. That's what I was thinking when I was a kid. Why else have it on there? Those who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. But you shouldn't have to say, oh, I didn't change anything, right? So anyway, more on other stuff later. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my public talk. And so stay cool. And yeah, see you next time.